Hello and welcome to yet another Arsenal podcast. I'm Marc and I am with Anfield 89 veteran Richard. How you doing, Rich?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. In the wake of Arsenal 0, Liverpool 0. So how do you feel about it? Well, I'm surprised you're taking a massive sigh.
I'm torn. I'm torn with my emotions. Is the reason why.
Go on.
I'm trying to be zen and looking at the big picture. We are now 6 points clear, which is wonderful. However, I can't get away from the second half performance, but I'm sure we'll come on to that. Yeah, and also, what I didn't need, I got a new smartwatch yesterday, so I spent most of the morning bucking about with that. And I was constantly looking at my heart rate, which was fluctuating wildly.
Have you got the data there? Can we have a look? Or
if I knew how to do it, I can get the data. Let's have a look.
So I mean, what was the most excited you got during that?
It flicked onto 120 BPM.
But when? What was the catalyst for that?
That was when we started dropping deep with about half an hour to go, and I messaged you and went, "Yeah, we're starting to drop deep here, and we know what happens." I think it was when in a 5 minute period, I just saw Rice get bypassed 3 or 4 times when the ball wasn't bouncing for us. We weren't winning the second ball, and I started pacing the living room, which I don't normally do. I know it's a frequent event of yours. I don't normally do. I forgot where I was because I had headphones in watching it, and I made my wife jump a couple of times with my outbursts.
Well, before we go on to the second half, I think we should look at the first half, which actually started pretty positively. I think they were sharp. It's probably the strongest team as well. I don't think there's any, maybe Calafiori for Incapié, but there's an argument either way. And they started really, really well, creating openings, if not actual chances. I thought Saka had Gyokeres on toast for the first 20 minutes, and I was really upbeat and positive about that performance. But we didn't actually create many what you might call chances, did we?
There were a number of balls flashed across the box. There were a lot of cut-out opportunities, but we were the far more dangerous in the final third. During that opening period, it was a bit more telling that Liverpool then quickly started to double up on Saka. They were doubling and tripling up, which obviously he's world class, but when you've got 3 men on you, it does limit your production somewhat. But I would have liked, as I've said to you before, sometimes and I understood yesterday why we started with a slower tempo, but we're playing a better team, and to go gung-ho can be a bit of a silly idea. I think we were feeling them out. I'm not too worried about when we do it in the first half, because I always think Arteta sometimes it's almost like he's probing. He wants to see what they will do in certain positions and certain setups, and when we overload at certain points. And I think he likes to do that at a slower pace, so we're not exposing ourselves so much. But yeah, overall, I would have liked things to happen a bit more quickly, but I was positive about it overall.
I've got a different feeling to you about those first minutes, because I thought they were excellent, mainly because of the inventiveness with which our defenders were popping up in the forward line. You had Saliba and Timber were in the centre forward position quite a lot, maybe, or the inside right, really winning the ball high, taking chances, tipping those balls in, and that was a tactic that was not repeated after that first 20 minutes. I don't think it certainly wasn't in the second half, when, as you say, we decided to drop back in, and we'll talk about that. But in the first half, I was really, really excited about the way that they were playing, the inventiveness, the movement, the rotation of the positions. And Liverpool couldn't live with us beyond retreating into... They couldn't get out of their own half, basically. That was the first part of it. So I don't get where this proby, slowy impression comes from.
I just think it was... Not saying we weren't positive, but it was a slower tempo of positive. It was... Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see, quickly realise, you can see the team quickly realise, and Arteta realised that Liverpool would come for one thing and one thing only, and that wasn't to attack. No. So that's when you really saw Saliba moving forward, as you say, Timber moving forward, trying to get things happening. And there were more through balls in that first half than a lot of games we've played recently, which was pleasing to see. I wasn't saying it as a negative, but I think it was a more slower, considered approach in that first half, like we were trying to see.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it was not a negative. It was more they were going, right, let's get ourselves set. Let's see what happens here. Let's see what happens there. I think for me personally, and I'm not an expert but for the way I looked at it, we were setting ourselves up for a second half performance.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well, is that I had the feeling that maybe we would go in level at half time. Yeah, so I thought we would come out Aston Villa style second half and blow them away. But before we get into that, you were talking about through balls. Let's talk about somebody who's not on the end of any of them, which is Victor Gyokeres. Now, I have been giving him the benefit of the doubt. I have been accepting that there are points where sometimes half a team is around him. I think last night started to lose my patience with him a little bit. That was an abysmal performance.
Again today, I want to love every single player we have. And don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Victor Gyokeres. I just don't think he's after last night's performance, I'm concerned he's not right for us. And I'm at that point. I genuinely said to myself, and I sat there and went, put Eddie Nketiah in his position, and I'm not saying it would have been better, but I doubt it could have been worse.
No, it wouldn't have been worse. It wouldn't have been worse. And I think Eddie Nketiah is a better footballer than Gyokeres, and that is for certain. I mean, one of the real problems that he has is that his teammates don't seem to be able to find him. Now, is that a question of trust, set-up, or something else? There was a time when Zubimendi could have set him up. I mean, it weren't an easy pass by any means, but he was pointing, he was running, he was doing what you want, and they don't look for him. That is an issue.
It's a big issue because that is his game. Those runs are everything he's got. He looks for that space, he runs in behind, and he hits the ball hard. Now, if the players aren't making those passes, and it was a difficult pass, but Zubimendi is a world-class footballer. He can make that pass 99 times out of 100, so I'm not worried about him. No. But why wasn't it delivered?
He hit a pass to Timber that was hard in the second half, about 60 yards swerve onto his chest.
They train with him my concern is they train with him every day, and they know what he's about. That's where I am now. I've tried to put more spin on it in my head than Shane Warne, and I've looked at data. I've looked at all those points, but your eyes don't lie, unfortunately.
No. Well, the data's not very. From an individual contribution point of view, the data is not great for him. No. Bailey, so I was thinking about, what do you ideally want from your strikers? So, ideally, you want them to be a complete goal machine. Erling Haaland, right? Gets chances, scores them, right? I know Haaland has not done that over the last 3 games, but his record is that. Now, you can't have... And this is probably like a pyramid as well. So, you've only got one player, maybe 2, in world football that will be like that. Then second on the list is...
Well, is Sanogo still playing?
Maybe. Probably at the same level. Right, here's a question. No, it's not right. I was going to say, would you prefer...
You take the Labrador's name out of your mouth. I won't have nothing said against him.
Right, back to the pyramid. So... The pyramid, you've got Erling Haaland at the top of it. I don't know if there's another player. Beneath that, you have players who get a lot of chances, but miss quite a few of them. But because of the sheer volume of chances that either they create for themselves or the team creates for them, they score a lot of goals. I'm thinking people like Aubameyang, for example. So he's not on that level, is he? Then you have your workhorse, Emil Heskey type, who does a lot for the team, holds the ball up well, will miss chances that drive you absolutely mad, but they do score. But they do help the team. They do hold the ball up. And there's a lot of them. And I think Jesus is one. Havertz is probably an elite version. Giroud, again, another version of that. Where
handsome version.
The most handsomest. And I would put these in the bit shit category. Because Olivier Giroud is the best bit shit forward of all time. Look at he's a bit
won.
Shit. He's a bit shit. He's won a lot. The greatest bit shit forward ever. Gyökeres is not on that level.
You've even forgot one more level.
What's that?
The nuisance centre forward.
Yeah, the nuisance.
You wind ass. You're putting it about. You're
Kevin
not going to
Nolan.
score. Kevin Nolan.
Kevin
You're
Davis.
Kevin Davis, you're going to go up with him. The centre half knows he's getting an elbow in the Shirley. He's getting an elbow in the temple. He's getting a whack in the mouth. You know, that's another level. He's not that either.
He's not. And I think the biggest indictment I could have of him last night is that, not for the first time, Declan Rice whips in a ball from the left-hand side and he's on his heels in the box. Why is he doing that? He's meant to be like the sort of poacher forward that we haven't had. And on those occasions, he's just not there. He's not moving. And that ball in from Rice, he did that against Aston Villa. That must be a pattern of play that they practice. Like, they're not making all this shit up as they on the pitch. Like, there is some sort of method to it, and he's not ready for it. And so he's basically the worst of all worlds. Like basically a low touch forward, don't score.
As the games progress and we get a larger sample size, he had. Everyone goes, oh, but he had a good game against Burnley. It's Burnley. There's probably 15, 20 other strikers in this league that will have a good game against Burnley.
Sesko, he's had a nightmare. He had a good game against Burnley.
Yeah, exactly. But he scored 2 goals.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and last night was almost, as we said on the last pod, okay, he's attracting players to him. Against the better sides, they're not doing that.
No, they're not.
They're not worried about him. When you've got your Van Dijks of this world, even though he's ageing, when you've got better centre halves and better defences, they're not putting 5 players on him. They're not worried about that. They'll stick 1 man on him. Look at Saka was getting double and triple teamed, and still Gyökeres wasn't getting any touches. There was one point where he dropped deep. And I noticed, I can't remember who had the ball. I'm not sure if it was one of our defenders or Zubimendi, and he dropped into the midfield or just slightly deeper than the midfield for a ball, and they looked for a far harder pass because they thought, mate, you're going to lose this. That's a problem.
Right, I'm going to, despite being the chief prosecutor here, I'm now going to present the case for the defence. And I've got 2 bits of evidence. The first is that maybe it would be better for him and he would be more effective and get used to the league if he could come on as sub last 20 minutes and be effective there. We haven't seen that, mainly because his companions up front have been injured. What do you think about that?
I agree with that. I think that would have probably been Arteta's ideal scenario of how to integrate him to the team. Unfortunately, what I feel is going to happen, and the most likely outcome is he's going to have to start because Havertz hasn't played in a year. It'll be a role reversal. Havertz will have to come on for the last 20.
I'll be honest,
do that role.
I'd rather play Mourinho up front at this stage. I think he's a better footballer. He scores more goals, and he's just a better player to have up there, more effective.
I'm in total agreement.
That is true, but this is also related to my second point of the defence, which is that Arteta don't give a shit about your fucking confidence, mate. If you're not good enough, he will not put you on. And we've seen that. Well, I think with Emil Smith-Rowe, for example, when he wasn't getting any time, we were like 6-0 up away at Sheffield United. Didn't get on the pitch. You do not deserve the minutes. So Arteta does not strike me as a manager who cares particularly about how you feel about things. Right? Yeah. You either produce the goods and you buy in, you do all the non-negotiables, and you produce, or you don't. And if you don't play. And Eze is in that category as well. I don't think he did himself any favours when he came on last night either. But he shows you that Eze made a mistake in a game. He then played against Wolves, didn't do particularly well, and he was taken off, and that's it. You don't see him again. Is Arteta showing concern about Eze's confidence? He's not. And yet, he's playing Gyokeres every game and playing him for an hour. So is he doing whatever it is he's been told to do, and we're just know-nothing football fans who stupidly want our centre-forward to present a threat and score the odd goal?
Have a shot.
He hasn't... Well, the old cliche is when you get a striker having a tough time, normally it's because they can't find the back of the net. And the co-commentator says, you know what, I'd be more concerned if he wasn't getting in those positions. Well, he's not getting in those positions, so we're right to be concerned. But on the other hand, we've won a lot of games when we're playing. Maybe the gravity of Victor Gyokeres is, in general, a good thing for the team. And would we be worse off? I mean, as I say, if Arteta thought Mourinho was the better option, he'd play him. So why isn't he? Maybe he's doing what he wants. And last night was just a difficult night for him.
It was a difficult night at the end of a sticky patch. I think it was, I'm saying this now, the nadir of what we've seen of him. Let's just hope. I would start him at the weekend. You've got to. It's a confidence. Start him at the weekend, and I really think, as horrible as it sounds, we're probably going to play a quite largely rotated squad. He's got to put performance in against.
I think Arteta's going to go much stronger than you think. Away in the cup. I mean, I think Norgard will play. But the back four probably be the same as finished the game last night. Or maybe Ben White will come in, but he hasn't got many options. Goalkeeper will probably change.
Oh, Madueke, let him run at him. Cool.
Yeah, that's a good shout. But it won't be as rotated as you might think.
Whoever's playing with him, we need to see more. You're playing against lower championship centre-halves. You know that division. You've played in it. So let's see it.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think he's got... And as you say, we want him to come good. Like, I'm sitting here slagging him off.
Desperately.
I want him to score 50 goals. Believe me. That is what I want. And in the previous pod, we said if we could get Jesus for 4 months, like the 4 months at the beginning of his time here, we'll be in a great position. We're not going to get that 4 months by the look of things.
No, he's 2 major knee injuries, 3 years older, missed an immeasurable amount of football. And we know his strengths and we know his weaknesses. He's never been a prolific striker, but he works extremely, whether he's playing good or bad, he works extremely hard for the team. To be who we want to be, I would just feel more comfortable with someone a bit more dangerous.
Yeah, I don't even think we need someone dangerous. So I'm really looking forward to the return of Kai Havertz. Not because I'm a massive fan of Kai Havertz, the centre forward. He's another flawed, he's on the third rung of that, where he'll a sort of pest, hard worker, intelligent, knows how to play the game, can fire in a shitty ball at him and he'll get it under control. But he will miss chances. Right, and we've seen that before. So he's not going to be a prolific scorer. But the main thing is related to what has happened in probably all those games over the winter period, whether it be Brighton, Wolves, Brentford, maybe Palace, and definitely Liverpool last night. They flood the midfield. We can't get hold of the ball, but they can't make a chance. What you're leaving yourself vulnerable to is like the Wolves goal, a shot. The forward sticks his foot out or puts his head on something that's not even meant for him, and then you're in the shit. That is the danger of that. And the flooding of the midfield happened again last night. I don't think Liverpool had a shot on target. I know Szoboszlai had a couple of free kicks that you thought, oh, here we go, is he going to do it twice? But that just shows you how fluky the goal he actually scored was, because the first one he took ended up in fucking down
by the corner flag.
There was a geezer serving hot dogs outside. He had it knocked out of his hand. It was such a shitty free kick. But beyond that, we were totally comfortable from a chance generation perspective. So it was fine, although, of course, I was utterly terrified watching it. The problem is that when we can't play out from the back and that press is there, we haven't got anyone at the moment you can launch it to and they'll get hold of it. Gyokeres is absolutely hopeless at it. Jesus will do a good job, but he's just not taught, against someone like Van Dijk or Konate, he's just not physically there. That's what you need Havertz for. He will be up there He'll win those headers. He can get it, and you can get up the pitch and stop this ball coming back over and over again.
He's an outlet.
Yeah. And we have not got one of those at the moment. I thought maybe Marino is a better option for that, but he just hasn't got the physical presence of Havertz, who's his style of play belies it a little bit, but he's a fucking unit. He's like 6'4". He's big.
He's good in the air.
He's good in the air. He's fast. And he can play football. His main weakness is that he misses easy chances.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'll take that. I would totally take that. Although, please get in touch with me when I'm fucking moaning in 3 months' time when he's duffed the header wide from 3 yards.
Another one's come off his shoulder.
Yeah, loves a shoulder header.
He's good at the back to goal, winning those headers, giving that. But ultimately, in front of goal, it's not his strong point.
No, it's not.
Having outlet last night, I think, would have been invaluable.
Yeah. And we did nearly have a bit of a cock up at the back where Saliba...
Now, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, I thought it was a bit on the nervy side, but when I saw it from behind the goal, I thought if he'd have hit that any harder, it would have gone over. And if he'd hit it any softer, Raya would have caught it, or Timber would have been able to clear it off the line. I think bar was the only place that could have gone. And I was worried that it was the sign of jitters, which incidentally didn't come from the crowd. I didn't think the mood I felt before that was one of cautious excitement. This could be the result that sends us on our way, rather than oh my God, please don't lose this.
Yeah. Yeah,
and so I felt fine about it. And then, it's just something that happened in the game. We got away with it. That was basically their only chance. Did you have a different perspective?
For me, I just think it was a rush. It was caused by David Raya, from my personal opinion. As I say, I played centre-half for many years. Saliba played that back to where you would expect 90% of goalkeepers to be. And David Raya, we know he plays an advanced and very, outfield player way of playing goalkeeping, but there's a time and a place for that. You do not need to be 15 yards further forward than necessary. Yeah. And Saliba has played that ball instinctively to where I would have expected a goalkeeper to be. And David Ray, there was no need to rush out there. There was no need to be advancing on Saliba at that point. I just think he doesn't make many errors. He's a fantastic goalkeeper. There's not many, if any, I'd swap him for the way we play. But I think he made an error for being too high up. Yeah, probably. I put it into the category of one of those things that happens from time to time, and they got away with it. And it would have been an absolutely unbelievable finish if he had stuck it away. Might have played into our hands a little bit if they'd have sat back, and then I don't think going 1-0 down is a great idea, but it would definitely change the dynamic of the game. And again, I think when you look at the data over the last few years, they're the sort of chances that have been going in against us a lot. Yeah. Really, I think about Fulham's goal last year. His XG was really low. Conceding from the first chance on target, time and time again. That's happened loads of time, and it's not happening this season, which is why we're not drawing these games. Oh, I know we drew last night, or we're getting better results, and we're way ahead. And so it was a bit of a struggle in the second half. Liverpool had a pretty strong claim for a penalty with Trossard on Wirtz. What do you think about that? I think we got lucky there. We did get a bit lucky. The only one part of me says, the old adage, I've seen them given, usually against us. But I think the saving grace was Wirtz knocked it so far away from himself. I don't think he was getting on the end of it anyway. No, that's what I think saved him. And it wasn't only a penalty. I think he would have booked Trossard, and that would have meant he went off, and he got booked for something quite stupid in the... Trossard came out with that mentality where we've seen it, where he just had aggro about him. When he got booked early on, I was like, I'd get him off at half time. Yeah, I thought that as well. Did Manchester City from the other year flash across your mind? Yeah, absolutely. He was having one of those games. I don't know if it's where we're not as cohesive as we are, or he's not playing as well. But there certainly seems to be a bit of frustration that creeps into his game, where we can get a bit tetchy, and teams, referees will pick up on it when we get a bit tetchy, and that was my concern. The last thing we needed last night was to go down to 10, and that was a real concern of mine.
Yeah, I thought we got a bit lucky there as well. Could have been given. Like, I can see why it wasn't, but same way, it's like, in the opinion of the referees in the rules, and that was a bit lucky.
And the ridiculous one, they were talking... Andy Townsend, I can't bear him.
Oh, do you have Andy Townsend? I had Gary Neville. Gary... I would have rather Andy Townsend.
The first one, when... I can't remember which... Was it when their player stood on Hincapie's foot in the box and he went down? And they were going, there's contact in there. He's trod on Hincapie.
Yeah, they didn't think it was a penalty at all on Sky. Is that when Frimpong twisted his ankle?
Yeah.
Well, they said they didn't think there was any contact at all. He just went over on his ankle a little bit.
He clearly, his heel came down on the top of Hincapie's foot, and they're going, there's and Andy Townsend's going, there's contact there, or we're going to need to look at this. And even when he looked at it, he's going, let's see what the referee says. I'm like, he's trod on Hincapie's foot. How is that ever a penalty?
I don't even think there was any contact at all, to be honest. And he just sort of like went over on his ankle a little bit. Stayed there. I mean, they thought he'd really hurt himself, Frimpong.
Yeah, and it seemed to be a almost a sign of things to come regarding injuries, where Liverpool were irate because we didn't put the ball out. When it's not a head injury, you don't put the ball out. Why Van Dijk is allowed to referee games, without a referee?
Ridiculous. Because lo and behold, 20 minutes later in the second half, Martinelli goes down which was a stupid. He was more worried about getting a penalty there than he was getting the ball. Yeah. And I think getting the ball would have been the better option. But then he went down injured, in inverted commas. Look, Liverpool don't kick the ball out, as of course they shouldn't. Right?
Of course. I had no problem with that. It's not a head injury.
No, not a head injury at all. And even the head injury thing's abused. Yeah.
Players now, this week, have gone down so they can stop a game for 5 minutes, and it's got to be looked at, I think.
Yeah. I don't know what. I wonder if for a head injury you could have a scenario where,
like in rugby,
the physio just comes on.
Yeah, I do it in rugby
rather than stop the game. I mean, that's probably opening his whole fucking can of worms. As you can imagine Gary Lewin running on through the defence, booting the ball out of his way. I don't actually know our physio.
No, I mean, we used to have the butcher that was Gary O'Driscoll as our doctor, who managed to turn a 3-week injury into a 6-monther. I mean, I hated him the whole time he was there.
I don't know.
He used to treat players with leeches.
Well, he took his bag of leeches to Man United, and lo and behold, they had an injury crisis almost immediately. So
I used to know all that stuff. But then I mean, we used to have a back room of 5 people, and now it's 5,000. So it's a bit difficult.
That's true. I used to have Panini stickers, and I don't have them. But they were very useful to know the backroom staff. Were. So, not much else to talk about, really, I guess, until injury time. And there was an injury during injury time, and I'm sure the International Criminal Court in The Hague will be looking at this if certain Liverpool fans have anything to go by. Conor Bradley goes to knock it out, goes down. It actually looked quite serious. And Martinelli did not cover himself in glory, not once, but twice. Well, first of all, he bounced the ball off him, and then tried to roll him off the pitch. Now, Slot, to be fair to him, in the press, like in the post TV, he was a little bit typical manager, where he said basically Liverpool players don't feign injury, so how can you possibly think that we've done
They did it numerous times during the game.
Yeah. So the frustrating, but afterwards he said, and he's right, really, he goes that there's such an issue with time wasting, and all teams are as bad as each other. I mean, we take. How long do we take over throws, for example?
And they're normally shit.
I know something has to be done about that. And I know Conor Bradley was injured. I'm not going to take that away from him. He's probably going to be out for quite a while. And yet, even he had the presence of mind to roll back on the pitch. Not once, but twice. Because he sort of rolled off, and then Martinelli helped him off. and he rolled back on again.
Yeah.
And there was another time where I think Martinelli had another go at rolling him off, and he sort of Bradley bum shuffled back on the pitch. So I mean,
Do you know what? If that was an Arsenal, if that was an Arsenal player, I'd be applauding that sort of.
Yeah. Your last act for the next 9 months in a shirt is to make sure that the game stopped. And
I applaud that sort of. You don't like to see a player bounce a ball off another player. Martinelli's not a doctor. We know that. He obviously did know the seriousness, and as his social media said, he's reached out to him after the game. He apologised, and it was accepted in good grace. But come on, I can see his frustration of him coming back onto the pitch, but I'm sure Martinelli would have done the same thing in the same situation.
Yeah, of course he would. They all would. Every single player would have done it.
As I've said to you, how many times have I told you, the game is run by crooks, managed by liars, and played by cheats, and that's the game we love.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. But still, it did. Do you know what Gary Neville said? Have you heard what he said? So he
someone asking for violence against.
His actual advice was, I am fuming with Martinelli. And I think he was genuine with his upset. But then in true Neville, he just couldn't let it go. And he said, I think a Liverpool player should come and give Martinelli a whack and take the red card. That was what he said.
There was a lot of that. There was a lot of that yesterday.
Ridiculous.
So Roy Keane said on the Martinelli incident, I didn't like it at all. I'm surprised the Liverpool players didn't go after Martinelli a bit more. That behaviour is an absolute disgrace. This is from a man that stamped on Gareth Southgate's chest twice in the same move and ended Haaland's career with a knee-high challenge.
And in the interest of accuracy, I'm going to say that he didn't end Haaland's career.
He did.
He did go in for a tackle, which he actually got banned for, I think, because of how he talked about in his book. But he didn't end his career, even though that was the last thing I think Haaland did in a professional shirt. But could need accuracy here. Yeah, it's all total bullshit. Because I remember maybe 2 or 3 years ago when we were away at Anfield, doing all right, quietened the crowd, and then Granit Xhaka got involved with perhaps Van Dijk in a sort of bit of handbags, and he was widely chastised for this because it woke the crowd up, which in turn woke Liverpool up, and I think they scored as a result of that.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I would have loved to have seen what their reaction would be if they had have acted on Neville's advice. Van Dijk had punched Martinelli and got sent off and banned for the next 3 games. Because let's not forget, we had a corner about 2 or 3 minutes after that, which they would have had to lined up for a man short. And we nearly scored from it anyway. And how close were we to scoring from that?
As it came across, I thought, this is it. This is it.
Yeah, I did. I saw it. Well, my first impression was that Madueke had hit it too hard. Like, it had gone up too high. But then I saw Gabby round the back, and then Jesus got in his way. Do you think he got in his way, or is it just he missed? It's 90.
I think it was a little bit mistimed. I think it was just the header. It could have been a bit of both. The header was almost straight down at his feet, wasn't it? It was straight down, just left of the post. But also, when we had that corner, Madueke standing like 12 yards out looking at everyone, did you think he just didn't want to take it? He wanted someone else to take it?
Yeah, I did think that.
I said, just get over there, man. There's a couple of seconds to go. Just get it in the box.
Yeah, he was standing there like, and someone else could, like, but he's the only left footer left on, wasn't he?
You've got to take it. unless the whole world's going to know it's going to be an outswinger.
Yeah. But Declan Rice didn't have his best game last night, did he?
No. I
think he's
don't.
feeling his knee injury a little bit.
I don't think there were many good. Over in that second half, no one covered themselves in glory. I think Timber had a Timber game. I think I'm going to look at what I saw in the second half. Odegaard reverted to the 8 touches and then a weak floaty ball over the top, which were cleared every time. Saka was doubled up on. Trossard, then Martinelli. We seem to revert back to every player having 8 touches of the ball before playing a sideways pass.
Yeah. It might be a function of the fact there's so many players in the midfield. We were forced into a change as well when Hincapié resumed the injury revolving door.
We went a game without one, so
yeah, whole game. Miles Lewis-Skelly came on and did not look good. Actually, for the first 5 or 10 minutes, I thought, my God, something's got to happen. I thought he might have been taken off again.
Yeah, I did. It was like, is he unwell? Is he...
He just seemed unprepared, didn't he?
He kept getting caught. The first thing he did, he looked like he had concrete boots on. I know Frimpong fainted to go inside, and the whole world knew he was going to go back outside. Marcelli nearly fell over going backwards, and at that moment I thought, you're not up to the pace of this. I don't know what reason, but then he kept getting caught in no man's land, not sure whether to go or to stay, and it was and don't get me, what is he, 19?
Yeah, look,
he's not a left back. But it was a worry.
He's got a bright future, but we're in a win this season, and 10-minute spells like that could be so costly. And you can see why he's not really. If that's what he's putting in training, you can see why he's not getting the minutes that he does. But let's give him his credit. It only happened a few times, and then they cut it all out, so maybe he's just not a very good sub, which can be.
Some players aren't.
No, it could be the case. So overall, I felt an air of disappointment in Goonerland, but I think probably unjustified, because when we were going into the Everton game, we were second, even though we were game behind, and now we're 6 points clear. Could have been 8, but we weren't playing the dog and duck. We were playing last year's champions who haven't lost a game in 10 or 12 or whatever it is, and they didn't have a shot. They didn't
come to win the game. No. They come to sit deep, and they got what they came for.
Yeah. So
we're 6 points clear at the top.
Yeah, that is a brilliant position. I think it's the terror and the scars of the last 3 seasons of not being able to get over the line, which is affecting everything, and it's going to continue until they do. Now, we've got a bit of a break in the Premier League because we've got the Cup at Portsmouth, some Champions League stuff, some Carabao Cup stuff as well. Do you think the Carabao Cup, they should go all out for that just to get a trophy?
I will. It's difficult to say at this point because I want to see where we are as a squad when we get there. Let's see if there's any more injuries. Let's see if there's players coming back. Let's see. I think it's not a decision you can make now. I think it's all about the state of where we are at that time. I'd love us to. Yeah. Chelsea, I'm going to say it, and there's no Chelsea fans, they're scumbags. They are an absolute scummy, detestable, loathsome club, and I hate every single thing about them. There's nothing redeemable. The other night, when the penalty was given, have you seen the clip when one of the defenders... He's hacking up the penalty spot while the rest of the team are remonstrating. They lose their heads and they do people. Yeah, that is a worry. I want to talk about the penalty spot thing because Chelsea have got a rich history. I was going to say, you've got one of your favourite Chelsea moments. Yeah, because Ivanovic, everyone feeling sorry for him when Jeff Shreves was saying, I can confirm you're going to miss the European Cup final. All right, I'll be done in a minute. All right, cool. And so when Jeff Shreves, in his highly sensitive way, told Ivanovic that he was going to miss the that was delicious.
Champions League final. The reason he got booked is because he was stuffing up the penalty spot. That's the reason you missed the biggest game of your life. So a rich tradition there of idiot penalty spot hackers. My only concern is you've got players like Enzo Fernandez, you've got, absolute blunderbuss up front. You've got Caicedo, you've got, Cucurella. You've just got a nasty bunch of cheap, but not cheap first. They will look to hurt people. And I don't want, it's me worrying about the rest of the season. We're better than them. We know we're better than them. But I don't want it to turn into a war and someone to get an injury for no reason. But let's see where we are when we get there. I was listening to another well-known football podcast. One of the presenters is a Pompey fan. And his outlook for the weekend, he went, fucking hell, all our fans will be turning up wearing black. He's not positive about them. But, so I know the magic of the cup and all that, it's a way, you got to prepare, you got to do it right. I mean, we should win, but that's why the FA Cup has got its tradition. The magic of the cup. I hope to see, the only thing I hope to see, I hope to see a 6-year-old with cardboard replica of the FA Cup
covered in tinfoil. As long as I see that, I'll be happy.
Well, let's say we'll keep our eye out for that against Portsmouth. We'll be back afterwards, maybe after one of the midweek games as well. We'll see how the schedule goes because we've got a lot of games coming up. But until then, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. See you later, Rich.
See you later.